Hello, my name is Speed. In this video, I'm going to explain how to set up Sacred for speedrunning on Windows 10. Before I get started, I want to mention that with this setup, game almost does not crash during speedrunning. In particular, I did not encounter a single crash while speedrunning, during which I killed the game process after each failed run. In a test I did recently, a single process instance kept going without crashes for 3 hours on, which is 3 times more than the time required to speedrun the game. This guide mostly relies on the video made by Locust on how to get maximum performance in Sacred Gold. But there are a few key differences. You need to follow the 6 steps which you should be able to see on the screen right now. Okay, let's get started. First, obviously, you need to download and install the game. We're going to use the latest patch of Sacred Gold 2.28 ASE, which is available on Steam and may be available in other stores as well. Next, you need to locate your games folder. For me, it's in Steam apps common Sacred Gold. Next, you need to download dgVoodoo. This is my dgVoodoo of version 74.1. You can find it on the internet, and there is a complete guide on what you are supposed to do next. Sacred is a 32-bit application, therefore we need to copy only those libraries and the dgVoodoo file itself. So let's do that. Okay, next let's configure dgVoodoo. First, make sure that it is running in the same directory. Next, select the video card you're going to use. On my laptop there's integrated video card and dedicated video card, and I'm going to use integrated because I could not manage to make the other video card work. We're going to use full screen, so I will set the scaling mode for that stretched with aspect ratio. We're going to use full screen, so I will set the scaling mode stretched with aspect ratio kept. Sacred only uses DirectX, so we don't need to modify any other settings except here and in general. Here I will select the virtual RAM and fast video memory access, which might improve the game performance. Also, I will disable dgVoodoo watermark. There's nothing more configured left for dgVoodoo, and it is the same as what the Locust recommends. Next, we're going to change settings in Config.exe file which you're supposed to use to configure the game. Those are the settings I'm going to go with. Video compatibility mode, which is supposed to improve performance, and I will disable movies because we don't need them in the speedrun. Next, we need to disable vertical synchronization in settings.cfg and Steam settings.cfg. We can do that by adding at the very end of the file line wait retrace 0. And we have to do that with both files, otherwise it might not work. Okay, and the last thing that we need to do, which is different to Locust Guide, we need to configure compatibility with Windows 7 for sacred.exe. And the reason for that is that with Windows XP, Sacred does not let the live split application capture key presses. So let me open live split and advance. Okay, we are done with configuring the game with external tools. Now let's configure the game inside the game option menu. As you see, it runs pretty fast. It was also a little bit loud. Let's go to options menu and let's configure the game here. First, you want to set graphic details to low so that less NPCs spawn, which may get in your way otherwise. Next, we need to disable atmospheric animations so that your character does not have to sit every time to collect stuff right on the ground. Obviously, we're going to disable autosave because it wastes time for nothing. And fog of war, which we don't need, a display of violence because it does not really add anything. Here we're going to disable speech because it is one of the reasons for game crashes from what I have encountered in my 350 runs of the game. There's nothing else you need to change here, and I don't think sound low effects or all effects affects anything. The game is configured. Next, let's talk about the reasons for the game crashes, which you still may encounter even after all this configuring. So, the game is running in full screen resolution. If you try to run it with Windows mode, it's going to run with lower FPS, and quick save and quick load are going to work much slower. So since it runs in full screen, if we Alt+Tab and then tab back in, some weird glitches might happen. They don't really happen all the time, so let's try to start the game and then they will happen, probably. Here we go. There's a double cursor glitch, which is the reason why your game may crash after alt-tabbing from the full screen. So what happens is that you have this game cursor and the normal cursor, and if you click with game cursor outside the window, the game dies, and there is no recovery from that. So what I recommend doing is first setting up the command for killing sacred.exe fast. That is taskkill /im sacred.exe/f, which you can just run and kill the sacred. And also adding a shortcut for sacred on your control on your panel so that you can relaunch the game afterwards. There is another crash which you may encounter, which happens after you immediately pick up the Horde of Sakara Demon. You may encounter a permanent black screen which basically prevents you from going afterwards, and you have to restart the game. And the last crash I'm going to talk about is the crash related to the speech sound. So your character is a really talkative being. They do like to comment on every action, and eventually, if you don't turn the speech to 0, you will run into issues with that. Like, it's going to sound like this. Your character is going to add their comment about something, and then they will they will stutter and in a glitched way, and the game will just stop working from there. And that is the worst kind of crash, since it is always very unexpected and it basically ruins the whole process. That is all I have to say about the Sacred Gold and its crashes and its setup. But there are a few things that I want to add. First, If you want to know more information about Sacred Gold, there is a sacred.wiki.org site on which there is a lot of information covered, such as attributes and skills of your characters. Second, if the Sacred Wiki was not enough, you can go on the Wolfe's lair website. There's a lot of guides here which are sometimes more detailed than on the wiki. The last thing that I want to say is a thank you to Bloody Mary for creating the route that I used and improved in few places to get the new world record for Sacred Gold. That is all I have for this video. Thanks for watching and see you later. Goodbye.